being a teacher and being an artist, it's definitely a very tricky position to handle and juggle these two areas and trying to divide yourself into these two roles.
It's inspiring because clearly there's so much passion for what they do, so much interest in what they do. That to me makes me even more inspired to support them on that journey.
Hello and welcome. On this season of the podcast, I get to sit down with artists and sponsors involved in the 2024 studio tour put on by Great Falls Studios in Virginia. And this is the annual art festival where visitors have access to creators with an emphasis on learning about and sometimes getting involved in the artist's creative process. The tour takes place this year on Saturday, October 19th and Sunday, October 20th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can find out more on www.greatfallsstudios.com. So that's www.greatfallsstudios.com. Thank you and enjoy the show. Welcome. We've got Meralee and Claire from the Arts of Great Falls joining us today. For the studio tour, they are members, and I won't steal all your thunder, but you've got artists who are members and participate in the studio tour. So I've introduced you, and we're going to maybe just introduce yourselves, what your role is, and then we can launch from there.
I'm Meralee Fredenburgh. I'm the executive director of the Arts of Great Falls, and this is my colleague.
Hi, I'm Claire Lynch. I'm the director of School for Arts at Great Falls. I joined in, this past January, so I'm very excited to be part of this community.
Yeah, welcome. Claire, where did you come from? Like, where did you work before this or go to school?
Yeah, so prior to joining Arts at Great Falls, I was an art teacher and a practicing artist for the past 10 years. I graduated with my bachelor's degree from Stanford University in 2014 with an art practice degree, and then spent some time in San Francisco doing artist residencies. I'm a kinetic sculptor by practice, and then attended the Maryland Institute College of Art for my MFA in sculpture.
Wow.
I've been teaching art. So my previous position was with the Lab School of Greater Washington as their woodshop and design teacher.
That's really cool. What is kinetic sculpture?
So kinetic sculpture is all about, the way that I do it is adding simple machines and mechanisms to sculptures to create movement. And what I really like about it is that it adds a depth to the spatial components of sculpture. And because it's also moving, there's a time aspect as well. And in some cases, there's sound. I build these really large wooden structures. Sometimes they're full room installations to make pieces move.
This is very cool. Is it a big kind of discipline, kinetic sculpture?
So it's definitely a growing area with the style that I do. There are a couple different artists that take kinetic sculpture in different ways, depending on the mechanisms and materials that they use. It's probably predominantly with metalworks, but taking it with wood is a little bit different because it adds a much more organic and creepy sounds to it. So I studied under Terry Burlier and Bernie LaBelle, who are San Francisco Bay Area artists.
Where do you show your work? You have a website and I assume an Instagram handle, yeah?
I do have a website, clairelynchsculpture.com, and I'll send that your way.
Awesome. That's really cool. Well, welcome. Wow. Meralee, are you originally from California?
I'm actually from Arlington, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Just a stone's throw away.
And Meralee, you came here from California as well.
Well, I came here from Japan. I grew up in California.
You were born in Japan?
No, I was born and lived in California.
Okay.
Through college. And then I lived in DC, and then back to California, Arizona, Japan, and now back to Virginia. I just can't get away from the DC metro area. It's like a magnet. It keeps pulling me back.
Oh, cool. I didn't know about your time in Japan. It's such an interesting place. Where were you?
We were in central Tokyo, so probably we were close to Roppongi Hills and Hiro, which we lived about a block away from a very large park called Arisugawa Koen. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
It's a very humbling experience when you're illiterate and you can barely speak the language. But it gave me a ton of empathy for anyone who, especially for anyone, the U.S. is filled with immigrants. And suddenly I realized how kind and helpful the Japanese people were. And I was trying to imagine landing in New York City and not speaking or reading the language. And I thought, wow, it was already difficult for me in Japan, but it could have been much more difficult.
Oh, that's nice.
My kids went to school there too. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah. At an American school you went?
Yes, they both went to the American school in Japan.
Cool. Oh, wow. That's, I've been to Tokyo a number of times and I really enjoyed it. And I remember you have to carry your hotel card around to be able to give it to the taxi to be like, this is where I need to get back to, or, and because it's amazing. There's no English. And I remember the first time I was like, I think I can take the subway and I think I recognize the characters enough. And I remember when I got there and I was like, I did it. It's like an amazing feeling as an adult. So that's very cool. So how about we start, Meralee, like tell us about the Arts of Great Falls, the kind of the overall, existence of it, what it covers.
Absolutely. So the Arts of Great Falls has been around for over 15 years. It was originally started by a group of artists that had a few years prior started Great Falls Studios. They recognized that there was a need for a nonprofit arts entity in this area to provide arts education. So that was then the Arts of Great Falls was born. Originally, we were located off of Colvin Run, over kind of close to where Mookie's and Costa Dental is today.
Yeah.
But after a few years, the artists recognized, I guess the board of the Arts of Great Falls recognized that it would be ideal to be located closer to the center of town. And so they moved here to the village center and have been here ever since. But today we have a thriving art school for children ages 8 to 18, and then art classes for adults, big kids like the three of us. And we actually about 2/3 of our classes and workshops are specifically geared to adults. They start at the very beginning level with no experience required and go all the way up to some more challenging classes that would be ideal for actual professional artists to kind of, I like to call it job development.
Yeah, right.
Professional development. Mm-hmm. But it's a great group we have 16. I'll let Claire go over the school in more detail. I don't want to steal her thunder. But the other component of the Arts of Great Falls is that we have art events throughout the year that are open to the community. So this past spring, we had our 10th annual Paint Great Falls plein air competition. And we had 38 artists register. The artists paint throughout Great Falls, and plein air is just a fancy word for paint outside. So all the artists are painting outside. We had even members of the Great Falls Garden Club that opened their gardens to the artists, and they love to do that. They're so excited to come and see paintings of their yard, their gardens.
Put so much hard work into it, sure, and then to have it glorified by the artists, it's a dream.
Yeah, and so this year we did expand the event. So we had an artist reception that was very generously, Brick's Oven provided all the food for the reception. And it was an opportunity for the artists to get to know each other. And then we had an artist demonstration. Jill Banks did a nocturnal demonstration.
Wow.
For the artist. She did not participate as a competitor in the event this year, but she did the nocturnal demo. And then we had a quick paint, which is where artists have just 2 short hours to be able to create a landscape painting. And it was here in the village center on the village green.
Oh, nice.
And so all of the artists just gathered their easels onto the green. And then our judge was Trisha Ratliff, and she walked around and reviewed everyone and gave everyone feedback on their art.
Very nice.
A lovely event. And lots of people sort of gathered around to meet the artists and see the final pieces.
Yeah.
But now what's behind us here is the exhibit. So we had over 50 paintings that Claire and I had the pleasure of hanging in our cozy gallery space here in the Village Center. But it's really a beautiful exhibit. And the lovely thing is all of these paintings are here from Great Falls.
Yeah. And they're available for sale.
Yes.
Very nice.
Limited time though.
Limited time. There you go. Get there fast. What do you have planned? Can you share what you've got coming up?
Yes. The gallery has rotating exhibits every month. We do take a break over the summertime because that is when we have summer camps in this space. And we don't want to risk having anyone's artwork turn into a new version of itself. So we take a break in the summer, but in the fall, starting in September, we are hosting a special exhibit featuring the Northern Virginia plein air artists, which is a group of plein air artists.
Yeah.
And so one of their members has an artist studio with us, Teresa Miller, but the others are from throughout Loudoun County.
Oh, wow.
But then thereafter, I don't have our schedule memorized, but we do have special exhibits every month.
Oh, that's very nice.
So aside from the art events and the art school, the other thing that we do is we do have 12 artists that lease studio space from us. We're the primary leasees, and then they sublease from us. Essentially, it just provides an affordable workspace for artists here in Great Falls. Not all, but many of the artists may previously lived in Great Falls, but now they have downsized and maybe moved away, but they want to retain a base here.
Sure. What's the website that people can find for Arts of Great Falls?
It's artsofgreatfalls.org.
.org. Yeah. It's impressive that it grew as quickly as it did, really, that you've got a board, you've got all this going on, and now it's just, going to grow, and it's home now, here in Great Falls Village, which is exciting for it.
Yes.
It's going to loop back to you personally, Meralee. What's your background? And I'll let you take it away in terms of like how you came into this role.
So I am not an artist. That's my first disclaimer. So people will come and visit and say, "Oh, where is your art?" I say, "Oh,
and my children, yeah,
not here." But no. So I have dabbled in art. I took some art courses in college. My favorite was my color theory class, which I absolutely loved. But that is also when I realized that may not be a calling professionally for me.
Right.
But I took art history in college as well. But I absolutely have always loved going to galleries and exhibits, and with all of the travels that my family has done, going to art museums is always one of our destinations when we travel.
Yeah.
So it's just something I enjoy and have a passion for. But my background is in marketing. And so I like to think of myself as the cheerleader for the artists, just trying to promote and create awareness. And it's something that it definitely takes time and a lot of energy to get the word out. But once you get greater awareness, then it's just maintaining it from there.
Yes. Yeah. And then building on your events and adding and that kind of thing. Yeah. I volunteered for the Met Opera when I lived in New York City, and people always said, "Oh, you're a singer." And I thought, "Oh, no, no." So, but there's an appreciation for it that, you like to be, amongst it and helping out. And so I guess we'll jump to Claire talking about the school.
Yeah, thank you. So we have like this really incredible space and opportunity to work with our community and bringing arts to them. We have, again, like as Meralee was saying, our school is in two-part. We have our adult classes and then we have our youth classes. So we really like started with our adult program, and we're really lucky to be having instructors that work with us that are so not only amazingly qualified professionally in their field, but have a really strong skill set in teaching and working with our students. What's really lovely about our classes is that our teachers really cater to the needs of their students. So they're really able to meet them at their level, whether it's the first time that they've ever worked with a material before, or as Meralee was saying, if they're more seasoned and familiar with the material and they just want to expand their own practice. Our bread and butter for our classes for adults is, oil painting, which is amazing that we have the opportunity to work with oil painting because, it is a medium that can be really tricky to use. So it's wonderful that we have such talented instructors that can teach that material, as well as watercolor. Again, like another tricky material to work with, like with my limited experience working with watercolor, it's like once it's on the paper, it's going to stay there. And then we do have like pastels and charcoals. So we do have like a really lovely like array of two-dimensional mediums that we can offer. And, some of the instructors that we have been working with, they do include, artists such as Jill Banks. We have Laura Gall, Lori Herman, Raj KC, Marsha Klowitz, Joyce Lee, Michaela Mancino, and Kim Richards. And what's lovely is that these are artists that have been with us for quite a while. So they're really integral to our community and to our program. And we really value them as instructors and artists. So those adult classes are here in the Village Center space, which is the 756 Suite C Walker Road. And those classes are offered in multiple times throughout the day, throughout the entire week. And they're offered fall, winter, and spring. And then let's say that you are a student who either wants to explore like a really like brand new medium outside of the ones that I just shared, or is just interested in kind of like dipping their toes a little bit into art. We also offer these really fun workshops throughout the year. So this August, we have Leanne Fink coming, and she does cold wax medium. It's really interesting. She's actually featured in our current show because it's the application of cold wax and oil painting. So it adds like an additional texture to oil painting, and it's just a different medium to work with. And because it's a workshop, it's the perfect opportunity to just explore something new. So that's in August. And then this November, we have Robert Johnson, who's coming to do his still life florals. And he's an incredible instructor and artist and does a really fantastic deep dive into how to do those still lifes and approaching art as a medium for, like centuries as a practice. So it's a very like well-rounded workshop. And then later in the winter time, we have Sherry Mattini, who is actually one of our loft artists who will be doing porcelain painting. And she studies the French style of porcelain painting. So that's going to be really interesting because it's a brand new medium that we've never really offered before. And it's a really exciting way to try something new. That's kind of like a little bit about our adult program. And it's just like a really nice opportunity as an adult to try something new, right? And to do it in a really supportive space and community. I think that's a really rare opportunity to find. So it's been really wonderful that we can create that environment for our students and teachers. And then switching over to our youth program. So, one of our 2024 goals was really to expand our youth program. And we've been able to do that because we've had this wonderful partnership with the Grange Foundation. We're hosting our classes out of their old schoolhouse space just on Georgetown Pike down the road. And Michaela Mancino, who's been teaching with us for quite a while, she has been so instrumental in really boosting and elevating our youth program, not just in the amount of time and dedication she's offered personally to grow the youth program, but in the quality and level that she's teaching these students. Her classes really focus on technique and rendering and color theory. And so it's really creating an environment where the students themselves, as young as 8 years old, can really feel empowered as artists in their own growth and their own artistic expression. Yeah, it's really incredible.
It's amazing.
And in continuing in the growth of that, again, Michaela herself was really almost like the trailblazer because we just started that this January. we are then also able to expand it into offering new classes such as illustration, which is going to be offered this fall for youth after school, which is just a really great way to not only grow the youth program, but, as we see like the cutback in art classes from our school systems, our students really still need a creative outlet to express themselves and to also build, the empathy skills that they need to process their own emotions and interact with others and grow, holistically as individuals. And art itself is just so important for that. So, we're really not only striving to offer classes for adults, but also grow in offering classes for youth as well. And so we're really excited to do that. We have a very big push this summer for our summer classes and summer camps. And because, again, we've had this great partnership with the Grange, we're now able to offer classes in our village center space and in the old schoolhouse.
Oh, very nice.
Which means that we have our classes that we've run similar like throughout the year, throughout the like fall, winter, spring. But we're also able to explore like different types of classes. Like, next week we'll have mixed media journaling with a new teacher, Alessandra Chiatti. And then we're going to have weaving and printmaking in addition to Michaela's like classical drawing and color theory. So we're really trying to open up, people's minds and youth's minds as to what art is.
Is there like a model that you're pursuing? Any kind of other school that you've seen that, reach kind of that level art offering or anything like that?
Yeah. So because this is a pretty recent expansion, we're trying to figure out how to best cater to the needs of our youth programs. So while we do offer Michaela's classes during the weekend and in the evening times, like Friday through Sunday, we're also experimenting this fall with offering after school classes. And really, one thing that's also really important to us as a school is having that conversation with our students by like issuing surveys, having the conversations one-on-one with teachers and students to figure out, what do they want to see in our program and how can we like best meet their needs as students.
Right.
So it'll be a really great experiment to see how we can continue to grow and meet those needs.
Yeah. The porcelain painting sounds very interesting. I mean, everything sounds interesting, but the porcelain painting, is that like a multi-day course?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's actually going to be one workshop that's over the course of 2 weekends, 4 days. And what's really wonderful too is that Sherry herself is bringing all the materials that are really specific to the medium and like very high quality because she does have a practice and professional background in the French style of porcelain painting. She actually last year, and I think with some regularity, travels to France to continue her own art practice. So that'll be over the course of 4 days, like 2 Saturdays and 2 Sundays. And the students will walk away with their own porcelain pieces. So it's pretty fun and exciting when you're at home and you get to like take out your own plate that you painted and the guests are like, oh.
I do feel like people are looking for experiences or looking for something that they can walk away with and share, and learn about something, especially for kids. Breaking them out of like a perfectionism mode is so important, and giving a safe space to take risks. I just find like that's like the most important thing about art is just being like, it's okay. Not every single piece has to be so precious, and learn to let go and enjoy it, just for what it is.
Yeah.
I had an interesting conversation with Alessandra Chiatti, who's going to be teaching next week the mixed media journaling. And, she was saying that the toughest part for students in her experience is breaking the first page and seeing beyond like the white space, because there is such that perfectionism mindset of, I don't want to make a mistake. And if we could just think more about process instead of product, I think we can really empower our students.
Right. And you trust the process. You trust yourself to go through it. And what you end up with may not be maybe like a perfect, say, with, the French porcelain work and stuff like that, but it's going to be yours, and learning to embrace what you make and what your instincts are.
Yes.
And then develop it if you like it and keep on going. So,
and maybe it launches something for you.
Yeah. It's a journey, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the nice thing about art is that it's a lifelong journey, and you can always be working at it and trying new things. And sometimes you just think, oh, that's terrible what I did or something like that. But then, maybe a day later, a month, a year, years, and you just go, wait a second, you can see, something in it that you like. And I just think art's so cool, obviously, that way. And the personal journey that goes into it, and seeing, what studying through art history and that, and seeing all the different periods that, the famous artists went through, and they went through changes and explored different maybe styles or mediums or whatever. And I think we have to keep that big view, on with art, and say like, this you can do, but, try everything. I saw you've got like the clay modeling also. So you're really, branching out into all kinds of different mediums, which is exciting.
I'm actually
great for the community. Are you? Is that you? Very cool. Yeah. No, it's good. And yeah, it's priceless. So it's exciting. I just hope there's enough room here eventually. I guess you'll just have to take over the whole Great Falls Village area eventually into a big art campus. Meralee, you've been there longer than Claire. Claire's new. What's been like the big impact in your life, would you say, working with the Arts of Great Falls?
It's been very rewarding to work with the artists and bring the community into these spaces. We have a pretty loyal following of students, and that might seem boring, like, oh, it's just the same people all the time. But I think that's actually a feather in our cap that we're able to have returning students who come back session after session to continue.
I think return clients are the best.
Yeah, and it forms a tight-knit community around the Arts of Great Falls. And then, even with our studio artists, I've been just amazed and impressed with not only their skill level, which blows me away, but also just, it's nice how much those tentacles go out into the community. We have a couple of artists, Teresa Miller and Jill Banks, that do a lot of plein air competitions. So Jill travels nationally and competes and has been recognized many, many times. She's won many awards at competitions nationwide. And then Teresa Miller, I feel like her professional career just continues to grow as well. And she's been awarded multiple times and is also an artist at the National Portrait Gallery. So, which is a very selective program. You have to apply to be accepted. And then those artists they're allowed to go once a week to the National Portrait Gallery, and they can copy one of the masterpieces there. But I think the one thing that has surprised me the most is, for some reason, I had this impression that artists were very laid back and they sort of painted when they felt inspired. But what I've learned is that most of our artists, this is almost a 7-day-a-week job for them. I mean, I get emails from artists in the wee hours of the morning, and I get emails from artists, in the middle of the day. Saturdays and Sundays are not off days for them. So it's something that I think it's inspiring, because clearly there's so much passion for what they do, so much interest in what they do. And so that, to me, makes me even more inspired to support them on that journey.
Yeah. When you've got it in your brain, you can't stop until you're like, okay, or you're ready to pass out because you're so tired. So, Claire, you've been there for 2 months, more or less?
I've been there for about 6 months now.
I'm so sorry. I don't know why it feels like time has just flown by, but it really has. Oh my gosh. So then good. You've got a good 6 months under your belt. What have been your impressions of Great Falls and the Arts of Great Falls?
Well, I definitely, like Meralee, have been very impressed by the dedication that our, artists and our instructors have towards their classes and their art practice. I mean, coming from that background myself as, being a teacher and being an artist, it's definitely a very tricky position to handle and juggle these two areas, and trying to divide yourself into these two roles as instructor and dedicate yourself to your students, but also dedicating yourself to an art practice.
Yep.
So it's been really great to help facilitate that and continue the strength of our program for our teachers and provide that support. I've also been very impressed by the outreach into our communities through our events and also through our own education program. It's pretty wonderful when you see like an arts organization really want to be part of the community as opposed to just be on the side of a community. So, it's been really wonderful to see how we bring the people in Great Falls and surrounding areas together too. Like in the outreach events that I've been doing, I've been, really struck by how we have people coming from all different counties because they want to participate in Arts at Great Falls, whether it be through our events or through our classes or programs. And I think that's really due to the strength and skill and dedication and support that our teachers provide for our students, and that Meralee and I support and provide that to our organization. It's been really wonderful to see how even through that community strength and organization growth, we still have been able to maintain a priority of wanting to be an intimate organization that supports every one of our community, like whether it be our teachers or whether it be our students. We haven't, grown so large that we've forgotten our mission. And what's really lovely is that our class sizes are smaller by choice because we want to still be able to provide that, one-on-one instructions that, really fosters that connection and community and that growth for our students and teachers. So that's been really great to be part of.
Yeah, sure. The intimate nature of it, that you've got the teachers that have been there for so long, the artist students that come back, like a salon type of thing, right? And you've got your group of artists and people are, have you seen any kind of offshoots or progressions and seeing new things coming up or seeing people kind of develop their art into new directions?
So one thing that I've seen in the short time that I've been here is that because we have such a strong following with our students who really want to continue taking classes with us and with the teachers that they have grown such a strong connection to, we've been able to explore some of our classes to see how can we grow in that area. And that's really because our teachers, I think, feel empowered to try new things. So for example, Kim Richards, she traditionally teaches a still life florals class. And this past spring, she was, saying that she really wanted to try to do a class at Meadowlark and have students collect their own sort of documentation for work that they would then bring back to the classroom. And so we got to partner with Meadowlark for this past spring and make that class happen. And that was a really exciting expansion of off of a course that she had previously offered, and she had students returning to that. And it was a really interesting and fun and cool experience to then expand our own partnership to areas that are outside of what the art community is here. Partnering with Meadowlark was a really wonderful experience. And I think that was really Kim that drove that and really wanted to do that. And I think that it's really great that we're able to empower artists to try those new things.
Very cool. Meralee, favorite artists in history, anytime in the studio there?
I do love some of the classic artists, especially some of the Impressionists. But I have to say, probably the one exhibit that always pops to my mind first is Andy Warhol.
Oh, wow.
There's something about modern art that I really appreciate, maybe not all genres, but Andy Warhol's pop art, a lot of people, it's debatable whether or not it's truly, some people claim it's not true art.
Yeah.
Particularly like some of his sculptures that he did.
Yeah.
Brillo boxes. But I had the opportunity to see his exhibit in Tokyo with my daughter when she was very young. And he really, speaking of journeys, artistic journeys, it tells his life story as you look through examples of his artwork over his life. And, the fact that he's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is surprisingly quite the little art mecca itself, with Carnegie Mellon there and Andy Warhol's hometown. But that probably stands out to me as one of my favorites. I love the simplicity, but the message that he's sending, and even his portraits of famous people like Marilyn Monroe, or, you're looking at someone through a different lens. So she doesn't look the way that she does in her pictures, but you still see inherently that it's Marilyn Monroe.
Right. I know he's passed, but do you think you'd ever want to sit down and have a chat with him? It's one of those things.
I know. Sure. I'll talk to Andy.
One of my questions that I tend to ask, well, every now and then I'll say, like, who would you love to sit down and like have a dinner with or something like that, or a dinner party, who would be there kind of thing. And nobody's mentioned Andy Warhol yet. So that would be, that would be a cool one to throw in. Claire, what about you?
I think for me, Eva Hess has always been like a really important influence in my own practice. And I just feel so moved by her work. It's so raw. It's so different. It really strikes a chord with me in my own practice. And I think it's just so courageous, like the next level that she took art.
Yeah. Very cool. So when people come through the studio tour in October, what will happen for them when they come out and they'll be able to see, like, will you have, you'll obviously have an exhibition going on.
So every year we have a special exhibit in our gallery with samples of the best artwork, most inspiring artwork by our studio artists. So you won't necessarily see students' artwork in our gallery, but you'll see examples of artwork by our studio artists. And then I want to say 99% of our studio artists are also members of Great Falls Studios. So they will also be hosting open studio. So we typically have some nibbles and some refreshments for people that stop in. And it's a great opportunity to meet the artists, see their latest work. Although a lot of visitors come, it's a very relaxed environment.
Sure. Yeah. It's not like there's like press or anything walking around taking pictures. It's not a fanfare kind of event. It's just come and see people in their work environment and check out their work and have a little conversation. So that's the beauty of the studio tour. So it is relaxed.
And the other thing that every year the artists that participate, they do demonstrations too across the weekend. So Cindy Grisdella is a very established and well-known and talented fiber artist. And she's often gotten out her sewing machine and is demonstrating how she creates her fiber art during the studio tour. Teresa Miller will be painting, Jill Banks will be painting, Joyce Lee will be painting and showing how she creates some of her gorgeous flowers. It's a great weekend, and it's so fun to see so many members of the community and even beyond our borders here in Great Falls come and want to just see what's going on.
Very nice. Thank you again. It's been really nice chatting with you, and Claire, very nice to meet you, and we'll see you around the village here, I'm sure, or I hope. And Meralee, we'll see you around as well. And thanks, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's an honor to co-chair the studio tour this year with Sandy Buffy. And on behalf of the Great Falls Studios artist community, I'm sending out a big thank you to the tour's corporate sponsors: Emily Marentette Real Estate, Brightview Senior Living Great Falls, Moss Building and Design, RJS Construction, Surrounds Landscaping, Stacy Tucker's State Farm Insurance, Dianne Van Volkenburg at Long & Foster Real Estate, the Residences at Colvin Run, Blue Chicken Bakery, Broadway Gallery, and L'Auberge Chez François. Ooh la la. And a big thank you to all those who make it out to visit us.